This episode of the WP Minute is brought to you by Pressable. You know what the best hosting feels like? Nothing. No panic alerts. No mystery downtime. No, hey, is the site down? Slack messages. That's the Pressable experience. WordPress hosting so reliable you forget it's even there. We keep your site fast, secure, and up 100% of the time, so you can get back to building, selling, blogging, or binging cat videos. No judgment, whatever you want to do. Go to Pressable.com/WP Minute and try hosting that disappears in all the right ways. Pressable.com/WP Minute. Pressable.com/WP Minute. Thanks, Pressable, for supporting the show. Phil Thompson, welcome to the WP Minute.
Thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it.
You work for one of our lovely and most long-term pillar supporters here at the WP Minute, Pressable. So thank you very much for your support. For the folks in the audience who might not know who you are and what you do at Pressable? What's the day-to-day like?
Yeah, so I help run the support team here at Pressable. So my job is really making sure that, all the ladders and tools and everything like that are in place for the team, and they have everything that they need in order to help our customers. I've been with Pressable for a bit, but I had a brief vacation in the middle. So I was here for a few years, left for a couple years, and then came back. So I just recently came back this year.
You didn't go to like Drupal or Wix, did you?
No, I did not become a trader on the CMS front. I went more into just unrelated tech, and then back into e-commerce, and then back into WordPress. I have not betrayed my roots.
This is just a bit of a tangent, but whenever anyone brings up I had another chapter in like a non-tech space, I often admire that. And I think about, sometimes this tech thing, especially with AI, which I'm sure we'll talk about, I'm just like, I just want to go cut grass. Like, just let me cut grass. Like, the robots aren't doing it yet. There's no AI automation in the way. I feel like is just less complication there. And sometimes that's what I want to do with my time in my life.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. I mean, career-wise, I've covered about as much as you can cover in completely unrelated jobs. And looking back at like pre-tech life, I definitely hear what you're saying there. There's some comfort in, I guess the pace and the simplicity. Yeah.
Well, this is a good opening to ask, like how do you weave in like the non-technical? I think marketers ruin everything, right? Myself included, and SEO kind of ruins everything too, because it just becomes like this programmatic response. Once again, now in the face of AI, like what is like natural organic content going to look like? Are humans going to vote for that over some AI-generated response? And I think about our roles in tech, and especially yours with customer support. My full-time job is with Gravity Forms, not in support, but I see that I watch what the team does, and I think we fall into this trap of how to optimize. How to, it's a caching problem. Step 1, step 2, step 3, outcome. Is the customer happy? Yes, no, let's move to the next thing. But I'm looking for like how you weave in the more human side to your customer support approach. Like, what are those intangibles you think are important for customer support that aren't just like ticket close time, response speed, stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm going to take a little side detour and give you some background context. So when I first I fell into customer service accidentally, and that's a whole other story. But when I decided to pursue it and I moved over to the tech sector, I started with at the time, small Toronto. I'm in Toronto, Canada, Toronto-based tech startup, and their CEO was fanatical about support. And that's a term that, like a lot of companies will toss around. And I have spent in my career, I've spent a good amount of time connecting with other companies, connecting with people in similar positions at other companies, see what they're struggling with, how they tackle the problems I've faced, et cetera, et cetera. And so I have met a lot of people in a lot of companies that say like, oh yeah, we're crazy about support. 99% of them don't actually mean it. They think they are, but they don't actually mean it. But anyways, this CEO, he was actually fanatical about support. And his one guiding mantra in everything that we did as a company was you take care of the customer and the customer will take care of your business. And so as a result, the customer support team was actually the most powerful team at our company. We overrode the say of anyone, basically. We had, we had basically any lever that we wanted at our disposal. You have a conversation with a customer, and because of that, for whatever context, you want to give them the next 6 months for free. Go for it. You don't even have to ask anybody. You don't have to ask a manager. Just do it. If you had a reason and you thought that reason was good, go for it. And that element of actually like really caring about the person, really caring about the customer, that really stuck with me. We had this program, this surprise and delight program, where we just do like spontaneous nice things for a customer. You're talking to a customer and they're calling you from the road, and they're like, oh yeah, a busy day today. I had to skip lunch because I got to go to this next job site. Blah blah blah. Well, where's your next job site? We'll send over a pizza. Stuff like that. And there was no metric to back that into on a business standpoint. There wasn't like, okay, well, let's track, revenue retention, let's track, ARR growth, anything like that. It was just like, if you're doing the right thing for this person as a person, that is the metric that we track. And so that personal touch, that personal consideration, that really connected with me. I'm a people person, and so I loved that. I loved the kindness. I loved the empathy behind that, and so that's always something that I've always brought forward with me. And so bringing it current with Pressable. Obviously, when we're going out and hiring for our support team, there's a very high standard that we have for technical knowledge. When we're hiring from other competitors, in the hosting industry, we're typically hiring their more, senior level employees because we don't have any tiered support in Pressable. You get our best person right from the start. But on top of the technical component and that knowledge basis that they have, it's just like there's a question of just like, is this a great person? Are they kind? Are they empathetic? Are they going to be laughing and telling jokes with our customers, etc.? And if the answer is no, it's like, okay, well, yeah, you are a WordPress genius, but you're just not the person that we're looking for. And then when we hire those people, first of all, there's often a little bit of untraining that we have to do because one of the big things is like, listen, Matt, like we hired you because, yeah, WordPress, hosting, like you're a genius, but you are also just a great person. And so like, be a great person. There is no script. There is no set rule book of you have to do this, you can't do that, etc. Be yourself. Be yourself with the customer, and if that means you're laughing and joking around and having fun with them, great. And obviously, like there's going to be times when that's appropriate and where it's not. If somebody's upset and angry and stressed out, we're not going to start sending them gifts and funny memes or something. So there's a time and place for everything, but it's really encouraging that with the team of just like, listen, be yourself. Like there's not a script. Don't copy paste, your messaging that you've used for the last 15 years, because you don't need to do that. Just be a person. That's what our customers appreciate. And again, it's not, setting that into a specific metric of like, okay, well, did you do this? Did you do that? etc. Because if we're really truly doing that, in an organic way, there isn't a direct, standard benchmark measurable around that. And, it's not like, oh, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? Et cetera. And it's like, well, no, because it wasn't it didn't feel right in that conversation. It did feel right here. It didn't there, et cetera. So that is kind of like a half answer to your question about tying all these things to metrics, making the customer element there. But it goes back to hire the right people and then tell them that they can be human.
When I got my tech career started at an internet service provider, an ISP, and I started off in Now, this is obviously many, 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 many years ago. This is when dial-up modems and T1 lines were a thing. And
I was helping.
Days. Yeah, I was helping people like, okay, click on start, go to your modem settings, make sure, I used to know it, like the script off the back of my hand, but I don't remember it anymore. But it was just those like people didn't know what computers were back then. So it was kind of just like helping them tell them like what this thing is in front of them. But then about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago at this point, actually 8 to 9 years ago, I joined a company called Pagely. They were acquired by GoDaddy. And I was an account executive there, and I saw what it was like to do support or customer support and customer service for, enterprise hosting and that kind of thing. And I always found this like dynamic of high tier support with obviously like your team, Pressable, and other hosting providers that service, a higher end type of customer. That comparison of like, here's the type of like white glove support you're going to get with the hosting company. And then, oh, by the way, like your site that powers your business, yeah, it's using this plugin from this other team over here. And now like when there's a problem, you kind of got to go talk to this person who knows very little about like great customer service or customer support. So I'm curious, like what that interaction is like for you as a leader of your team. Like when a customer runs into an issue with a plugin they got from another developer, another provider, maybe it's even commercial. They bought a license. They should be getting support from that other plugin provider. I'm wondering how you handle that dynamic, or maybe you don't even, maybe there isn't an issue, and maybe this is just a moot point, but how you handle that dynamic when it's not Pressable's fault, it's not the customer's fault, it's this other plugin over here, and like to what end do you go to maybe educate the customer to say like, you kind of bought this thing that's causing the problem, you got to go over there and talk to them about it?
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a really tough one because it's a burden and a curse, the openness of WordPress, right? It's like, yeah, you can do anything, you can load anything in there, etc. But like you can also, as a result, make your site go completely off the rails and like it does not perform. It has security vulnerabilities, whatever. Now, as you mentioned, like, we can sit there and we can say like, hey, here's the problem. It's with this plugin. You're going to have to go talk to that plugin developer. But if that plugin developer isn't providing any quality support, or in some cases, like just no support at all, like, hey, I've reached out to these guys 8 times, I haven't heard anything, etc. It doesn't solve the problem that the customer's in, obviously. We can redirect them and tell them, hey, go over there. They're not solving the problem, then it's not solved for the customer. And if it's not solved for the customer, they don't really care whose fault it is, at the end of the day. They just care about the experience that they're caught in. And so, that stuff ultimately in a lot of cases is going to reflect on us as well. Because the customer isn't going to have a delineation between the plugin developer, who's a totally different company, and their host. It's just like, my site isn't working and I need it fixed. So it puts us in a bit of a bad situation. And so, the one answer for that is like, okay, well, like, let's just go totally above and beyond and like fix this for the customer, and away we go. And that's definitely an option. However, that option also doesn't scale, because then, one, you got to figure out what's wrong with this plugin, figure out the code, figure out what's going on, try and fix it, etc. And then even if you can fix it, then, well, what about the next round of updates of plugins or WordPress or whatever? Then are we coming back and redoing that work again? So it creates some pretty bad scaling problems. And as much as I would love to do everything for every customer, just because then I know it's going to be done right and they're going to have a good experience, if we create scaling problems, like part of my job is having the forethought of like, if we create these scaling problems for ourselves, then our entire customer base is going to suffer because we're going to be more busy. We're going to be less available. One of the things that customers love with us right now is they just, they click on the live chat window and we're there right away. And that is not going to happen if we, start taking on all of this like extra, essentially professional services work, fixing other people's mistakes. So the big thing that we try to do is like first, like let's see, like, is there anything we can do on our end to fix this, or at least help mitigate the problem, and explore that first, and certainly help like find and isolate the problem, because that's honestly half the problem right there. Is most customers just don't even know like where the problem is coming from, and then from there, if we can't fix things for them, then it's like do as much as we can to empower that customer, and give them all the info. We'll even sometimes be like, hey, this is the message that you want to send to the plugin developer, and like, here, copy and paste this and tell them this, et cetera, et cetera. Because a lot of times if they're reaching out, like, I don't want them to have to go through an entire, cycle of basic troubleshooting with that plugin developer when they reach out. I'd rather they just be like, hey, listen, we found the problem. It's this line of code. It's this, you're passing a null variable in this array, and this is how we found that, and away we go. And then they can just, pick up from there. So hopefully we can save them, any extra work and downtime when they're relaying with that developer, and then also, give them some other options. Like, okay, hey, if that developer isn't responsive, then like you would need to get this function rewritten, and we got some, thankfully we have a pretty wide connection base in terms of like agencies and of varying scales that we can refer folks to. So if it's something very tiny, we have a few different companies that we can refer people to that are usually pretty cost effective for them. So it's like, hey, this is what you got to say to the developer, pass along this, etc., and this is what they need to do. If they're not responsive, another option is, we know this agency, you can get a quote from them, etc. But really just kind of empower them with as much information as we can. It's kind of like, the same premise, I would say, is just like generally applicable within customer support as well. Like, you're never going to make everybody happy, but the ultimate goal is just at least like they feel, one, heard, and two, understood. And then that, once we get to that place with them, they know like, hey, we're on the same team for you. We're fighting for you. We'll do as much as we can.
You sort of helped me segue right into one of my next questions, which was agency partnerships. This was huge when I was in the hosting world myself. We would, I, as an account executive, like selling into the corporate environment, I would say like, we're not a tiered support system, white glove support, et cetera, et cetera. I know that maybe this is more of like for like sales and partnership folks in the Pressable organization to answer, but I'm just curious from the support perspective. What is it like to interface with an agency? We have a lot of agencies and freelancers that are listening to this show. And at the end of the day, like, they're all looking for new leads. They're all looking for like ways to grow the agency and like survive, in this crazy time. So like when you interface with an agency, maybe with a customer or hand off a customer, what's some maybe advice or things that Pressable looks to say, okay, this is an agency that fits our parameters for being like a good partner agencies, or actually like an official partner program they have to run through? Or can they apply, air quotes, like the person listening to this right now, could they apply to be on that list of well-known agencies? How does that work at Pressable?
Yeah, so we basically we audit and do some some validation steps to make sure that folks are a good recommendation for us, and also like the criteria that would really fit them. But the Automatic for Agencies team, they handle all of that, and through them, that's kind of the network that we'll use to toss customers out to. And then based on, like I said, things like the customer's budget, or even just like the scope of the problem, that'll help our team in narrowing down like which ones might be the best fit, and that's sourced based on a lot of input from the agencies themselves in terms of like, listen, like we don't really want a job that's, going to be $1,500 and 45 minutes of work or something. They, they'll kind of self-source some of that in terms of their interest level for us. And then we'll combine that just with also like our past experiences and also like, other variables that we know about the job itself to kind of narrow down a list for the customer. But yeah, we refer them to agencies through our Automatic for Agencies network.
I want to talk about AI and WordPress, but before we get to that, is there anything at Pressable that you or with your team that you lead, is there anything that you think people should know? Like, it's not, is it a feature? Is it that live chat? Is it like documentation? Like, is there something that you think, hey man, like this has to be known about Pressable so that people can, knock on our door and try out our stuff?
Honestly, I mean, it's going to sound kind of bland as an answer, but I think the biggest thing for folks is just like our secret sauce isn't really, too much of a secret. Our secret sauce is just like, let's just, nail the basics. So it's like, okay, have a good hosting infrastructure, make sure that it it's fast, it's responsible, it's responsive, it's reliable, etc. Provide good support, and then listen to our customers. And maybe that last one is maybe kind of our secret sauce in that I've worked for a lot of tech companies, and you will know yourself like what the customer feature request pit hole looks like. You open the door to that room and it's just like this endless void with like a bunch of things in there, and none of it ever gets touched or looked at, etc. And I am very happy to say like that's not the case with us. We do we definitely don't do everything. Customers will reach out and say like, hey, it'd be nice if you have this, et cetera. And while, we get that works, and that's great, and that would be awesome for that particular customer, we do have to look at the totality of our customer base and what makes sense. So we will pick and choose, but we actively and regularly churn through our customer like feature requests, and so I mentioned at the start, I was here for a few years. I left, foolish decision, but I left for a couple of years and then I came back. And one of the first things I said when I was coming back is, are there any, I asked the support team, across all the support team, is there any, feature requests that we've been hearing a lot from our customers that we haven't implemented? And every single one of them said no. And I was like, okay, they're not asking for anything, and they're like, nope, devs just built it. And so they are constantly rolling out things. We'll toss something in there, and then the support team forgets about it, and then like a couple months later, somebody on dev will ping us and be like, hey, support, I got a MVP for this feature, can you take a look at it? And we're like, oh yeah, we forgot we even asked about that. But maybe that's our secret sauce, in that we get a lot of the features that customers ask for pushed out and live, and it's not just like a the self-fulfilling prophecy of a product team that comes up with like, oh, we need this feature because whatever market competitiveness, or we need this feature because I came up with it and I think it would be a good feature, whatever it may be. We don't just like blindly follow that as our roadmap. It's a lot of customer features.
All right, so let's talk AI in WordPress. I don't expect you to have all the answers for this final segment of the show here, but obviously AI is obviously on everyone's top of mind. We don't even know where the world is going, let alone WordPress with AI. But what we do know is, some experimentation stuff with the AI Make team at WordPress.org. We are seeing like WordPress.com has AI building features inside of it. We can expect probably at WordPress.org, the open source version, to have some stuff of AI coming into this. I try to like sit down and picture like, what does WordPress even look like if it was like fully AI integrated? Let's say you logged into WordPress just like you might log into Claude Code or ChatGPT or something like that, and you can just, I can start building whatever I want. What does that mean for your team trying to support that? Like if somebody can just do anything with WordPress because of AI, how are you expected to support that in the future? Have you started to think down that path? Is there a directive for your team to start thinking like what happens in a world of AI and when anybody can do anything with WordPress and suddenly like now you have to figure out what the end user did with AI and this version of WordPress looks totally different? Like what does that look like? How is that fear running through your veins right now in that future world?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from a individual site perspective, it's interesting because yes, like AI adds infinite possibilities into things. And as a site owner, you could create, constantly re-optimizing pages that, are, just like blowing through SEO based on, tracking all of this data and then, doing real-time edits to pages and whatever it may be. That being said, in its current capacity, there's also a lot of room for things going off the rails. And when something goes off the rails, it can go very horribly, very quickly. And so, I mean, we, internally in Pressable, we use a number of AI tools, just like every other company these days. But we have been very guarded on using them in customer-facing support, and we've actually just started trying this year, and even then, we've kind of purposely handicapped it. But in that, just to give you like an example of like going off the rails, we do use it. The ticketing platform that we use, they have their own AI agent, and it's got like a co-pilot functionality. And so one of our teammates, she was just getting some validation around some shortcode structures for I forget what it was, inserting blog vault or VaultPress hosted video into a post or something like that. And then it came back with a like 3-page story on the origins of the Roman alphabet. And it's just like, I'm sorry, what? And it's just like that.
To be fair, sometimes writing short codes looks like that. So
that is true. That is true. So yeah, I guess I should give it the benefit of a doubt. But yeah, I mean, it's a great example of, and that's something that it's like that's been trained on like our resources. Nowhere in our resources is the origin of the Roman alphabet. So there's still a lot of room for things going totally off the rails, and that can be very egregious like that, or it could be really subtle. You start to get into a lot of these like AI page builder functionalities and things like that, and it could cook up a page for you, and it's like, yeah, the site looks great. But then, on closer inspection, you start picking through things and you're like, what? Like, that doesn't make sense. Or like, where's that information from? And so, I mean, that's one thing that worries me is, a lot of people get themselves into like an unknowingly into like a bad position where they have something that they don't really want. But the upside, I think, for site owners themselves is also really great in just like even like troubleshooting your site. So most of the people that have a WordPress site, I would say from my experience, they're not getting in there and stack tracing an error. They have no idea what that means. They have no idea what that big blob on that white screen of death means, and what is all of this, etc. And having your site be able to analyze those things and spit out an intelligent result for you of like, hey, here's the problem. This is where, this is why this problem is happening, etc. The quick fix, disable that plugin, update it, blah, blah, blah. But also like, deeper, troubleshooting, this variable, needs to be updated here. You can't call this function, whatever it may be. I think the troubleshooting tools that could be introduced with AI could be insanely valuable to site owners, especially the large segment of the WordPress population that isn't overly technical. It's like they set it up using a pre-install from the host, and they just load in their theme, they load in their plugins, they use a page builder, etc. In those cases, like you're not necessarily dealing with somebody who is incredibly technical, but that doesn't mean they still want to be, left out in the river without a paddle when something goes wrong, right? So I think the troubleshooting aspects of it definitely have a really big upside. I just kind of worry about the possibilities for, lack of guardrails and hallucinations and things like that.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of. I guess that's just me having been in customer support since the beginning. Like I always think of like that. What are they going to do and how are they going to break it kind of thing? But I never thought of it on that more positive side, that maybe whatever integrated AI looks like for WordPress, like whatever that is in the future, troubleshoot, like solving that issue, and maybe even training and educating like how WordPress was put together. And that actually might soften the blow on like your team, like the impact of like support time and all this other stuff. Because now if somebody's got AI inside of WordPress, well, maybe it's actually debugging the fix for them to a degree, or at least like pointing them in the right direction sooner rather than like just immediately knocking on your live chat door, using up your resources, et cetera. So that's definitely a positive take on it.
For sure. And even for like plugin and theme developers themselves, I see upside for it. Like we'll see customers where, we get them on, into chat and they're like, why is my site so slow? And we take a look and it's like, oh, okay, well, your suite of Divi plugins are, crippling the site because of all of these queries. And then it's like, well, I thought Divi was a good plugin. And it's like, well, hey, stop. We're not saying it's not, and it's a matter of like, listen, it's a good plugin. It works fine. We have no problem with it running on our platform. But here the specific, layout, the framework that you've built for the site is sending 2,700 queries per page load, because you have, all this complex structure, et cetera. So even stuff like that, because, you get a plugin like that, and then they go to, the Divi team or whatever plugin, and say like this plugin slowed down my site. Well, it's not the plugin itself. It's, it's what you've done with it. So having tools where, it can, the site can like retest and like, flag like, oh, hey, like you just added 2.5 seconds to your page load time. You might want to undo what you just did. Stuff like that, stopping the customers from really, tripping on their own feet. I think that that's a win overall, like for all support within the WordPress industry, plugin themes, hosting as well. So, stuff like that would be great too.
Phil Thompson, Pressable.com, one of our lovely pillar sponsors here at the WP Minute. Phil, anywhere else you want folks to go to say thanks? Is there a customer service splash page somewhere, or is it just Pressable.com?
There isn't. We should probably make that, though. It would probably be filled with tacos internally. Yeah. Tacos are our like internal like kudos like celebration method. So there's a lot of taco emojis that get thrown around in the support team. But Pressable.com. You have any questions? There's a little chat widget on every page. You can either reach out directly live chat to the sales team or the support team.
Thanks for listening to the WP Minute, part of the Matt Report Media Network. This episode wouldn't be possible without our amazing pillar sponsors, Pressable, Kinsta, GoDaddy, 20i, and Elementor. These brands are supporting WordPress media and helping us invest in your future as a WordPress professional. Our Foundation Plus sponsors like Hostinger, Big Scoots, Stellar WP, Personalized WP, Weglot, and Patchstack help us keep the lights on. Thanks to all of our members in the WP Minute Slack channel, which you can join too. Head on over to thewpminute.com/support to get access. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hit the share button or tell a friend about this podcast. See you in the next one.